Peace. Welcome to Earth Crowns. My name is Izayaa, and today I want to work on a tutorial that is for a crown I made a couple months ago called Panther's Tail. And it's kind of the reason why it's called Panther's Tail, you're going to get to see in a little bit. I just kind of wanted to start with talking about head wrapping, wearing crowns in general. Coming from a so-called Latina background, via my immediate origins are in the Dominican Republic, and wearing a head wrap in the Dominican Republic itself is ludicrous. And even wearing it here in the U.S., it's also for the Dominican community specifically, and other communities, Black and Brown communities, it's extremely backward in their eyes to do something like that. And so I have experienced a lot of backlash. What do who you trying to look like? Just a lot of negativity, for the women. And one of the things that I like to do is when I receive these comments, these ideas from these older women in the community. What I like to do is I like to come at them with the amount of knowledge that they have. And the reason for this being because older people tend to think that, they know it all. Unfortunately, this is how society functions, where older people really think that the youth or younger people have nothing to contribute. Why? Because they've acquired a certain amount of wisdom and a certain amount of respect throughout the years that should legitimize why they know more. And while that rationale is entirely acceptable, there is kind of like a disconnect between the youth and then these older people. And we need to come to kind of like a medium ground. And elders need to understand that, yes, their knowledge and wisdom is extremely important, but for the understanding to really be understood, right, and to bring it all forth, we need to start looking at the youth and start looking at what they're doing. And and this is something that I do with my daughter, because I've experienced it. We can't talk, the elders know it all. And so with this, what I do is to keep it respectful, and so that it won't get disrespectful, is one of the ways that I attempt to address this issue is by they're extremely religious. When you talk about the Caribbean community, South American community, and I'm just talking about the brown communities in the Western Hemisphere, they're extremely religious. And so I like to talk about the Bible. And one of the sections in the Bible that I like to refer to is Corithians chapter 11 from verse 2 to 10. And when you look through those verses, you realize, wow, the Bible is not the best book for me, but you can extract a lot of information and a lot of ideas from in there that are ancient in origins, even though they might not necessarily come strictly just from Europe, although the Bible was made in Europe. And so with that, these verses speak about the role of the woman and the sacredness in covering the head. And I recently had this conversation with my mother and some of her friends, and they were like, wow, we're Christians, or and we don't really thought about that. We didn't think about that. They were, so they actually said that we never really thought about that. But obviously the reason why they're not thinking about these things is because there's a contradiction between what's in the Bible and what is the church actually teaching. People go nowadays, there's a big social component to attending religious services. And a part of it is, who's here? What are they wearing? What is she wearing? Instead of, whether it is a chisme about the family, whatever it might be, we have to, they claim to be so religious, yet their own text, they don't know it. And this is the inconsistencies that we deal with. And, for us to see women, they see other women then dressing up and, she's Muslim, she's Jewish. So you have to really just study your text, and the importance in that. And so I'm gonna leave it at that, and I just want to go ahead and start with the tutorial. I'm going to be using this yellow rectangular scarf. I'm also going to be using this brown, also rectangular scarf. It's much thinner than the yellow. And the star of the wrap is this beautiful leopard print scarf, okay? And that's gonna be the star of the wrap, and it's going to be the last scarf that I'm gonna be using. And so I'm gonna go ahead and place the yellow scarf, okay? And I'm gonna make my right side right now longer than my left side, and the reason for that is because I'm going to need a relatively large tail, okay? So it's my this side, it's my left, but it's gonna be your right. That's the side that I want to have a longer tail on, okay? Which is why I'm initially making this one longer, because once I tie it, then is when I tie it, this tail is gonna end up on this side, okay? So I'm just gonna check, okay? Make it a little longer. Okay, now I'm gonna tie it. Okay, I'm gonna tie it, and I'm just gonna bring this up and tuck in the fringes here. And you know, this doesn't matter, okay? Doesn't matter, because that you're not gonna see that later on, okay? And then just pull the scarf back so you could have a smooth front. All right, and now this is where first I'm gonna work on the tail, okay, of this crown called Panther's tail. And the first thing is I'm gonna place this scarf like this. It's gonna be placed kind of like on a loop. I'm gonna loop it, okay? So I'm gonna bring this tail up, all right? And this is the goal. The goal is to loop it like this. All right, and so I'm gonna bring, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring these two around in a circular position, okay? And I'm gonna keep, okay, so you see there's two, right, that I'm bringing around. This one I'm gonna continue to move around. This one I'm just gonna keep it loose there, okay? And then what I'm gonna do is just tuck this one in here. All that is going to be hidden, okay? And then I end up with this one, all right? And what I'm gonna do is I am going to start twisting this. Let's see, maybe I'm gonna bring it like this. Yeah, this is better. See, so I brought this around like this, all right? And then I'm starting to twist and creating that, and they're equal lengths, okay? Almost equal lengths, and creating that tail, okay? And once I finish twisting it, I'm just gonna go like this, and I'm gonna tuck it in there. Just temporarily. See, it's still a little bit off. I just need it to be a bit off my face for right now. I'm gonna come back and deal with it. But if you notice, I got the gist of it. It's the tail, all right? Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold the main scarf, and I'm gonna fold it about 1/3 of the way. Okay, and I'm folding it, all right? And I'm gonna tie it. I'm gonna bring it up turban style, okay? All right. And I'm gonna bring it up. See, this is a little bit, so if you see that it's a bit too short, I bring it up a little bit, okay? I want it to cover this top part. And I'm gonna go like this. Okay. All right, I'm gonna fix this a little bit. And it's until you get the gist of it. And I feel like I need to bring it more, so I'm just gonna do this. Okay, and I feel, see, that's perfect for me. And I'll just fix these outer edges in a bit. All right, so I'm gonna start, and I'm gonna start with this side, just opening up the I'm just gonna open up the tail. Okay, and I'm gonna bring it to the back, towards the back, and now towards the front. Okay, and I'm going to just put these fringes, tuck these fringes in here in the front, which is exactly where the second part of the tail, I'm going to start to open it through. Okay, I'm going to open it until the fringes end up at the top from here, and I can just tuck them in. And you know, I'm playing around with the top too. I have a bit of loose parts up here, so I'm just gonna be tucking that in. And see, I want to bring in this, bring it down more, the actual scarf. Okay, so that's what I'm doing now. And because I don't want any of this part to show, I just want the tail to show. Okay, so now I'm gonna untuck the tail, right? And I'm gonna do this again. It's already twisted, but I'm gonna bring it back again, and now is where I'm gonna really tuck it in. So I'm gonna tuck it in through the bottom. I'm holding, it's just easier if I hold it up here and then tuck it in. Okay, and then just, you know, move it down, and then move this in, move this down a little bit more, move this down a little bit more, and tuck it in, and then it's about just checking. Now I'm gonna check the back with the mirror. Okay, I know I turned around already to tuck it in, but now I want to see how the back is doing. Hopefully it's okay. And yeah, it seems okay, you know. It seems fine. Okay, there's a little bit, I noticed like there's a little bit of, okay, maybe that fixed it. Let's see. There was like a little mess back there. Yeah, there we go. So I fixed that, and now it's all cleared in the back. All right, and I'm wearing these earrings. I actually put them on before the end, and I want to give a shout out to the guy Ramel. He makes these beautiful earrings, and they kind of go with the tone and the set of the wrap. So I'm going to go ahead and turn around so that you can see the entire crown. Great, and this is what I meant by Panther's tail. I wanted to feature the tail. So this is actually, if you were to view a cat, I guess, backwards, that's what I'm trying to embody. I'm a big lover of the cats. I actually prefer them more than I do dogs. Although my husband is allergic, so that's not a possibility. But yeah, I kind of wanted to end this tutorial by putting this book out there. This is called Head Wraps, and it's by Georgia Scott. And this book, see, when I talk to the youth, I talk to them a bit different than I would the elders. The elders, I don't introduce any new ideas, and if I do introduce new ideas, it's because of the questions that they are asking me, that then these new ideas will get introduced to them. But well, the reason why I love it, this is a great introductory book. It doesn't have that much history in it, but it actually covers current world culture through the lenses of crowning, of head wrapping. It's written by this columnist for the New York Times, her name is Georgetta Scott, as I mentioned. And in the late 90s, she became really intrigued because she started to see mostly black women, meaning African American women, who were rapping. And a lot of them were like, I'm rapping because I want to get in touch with my African roots and all these things. And so what I love about this book is that she brought it full circle. She went through all these different places worldwide. She went in places in Europe. She went in places in Latin America. So we get to see indigenous women, like in Guatemala. I think she went to Mexico. And I forget, I think she, for the Caribbean, though I'm not sure if I don't remember reading about Spanish-speaking Caribbean. I think she only visited the English-speaking Caribbean. I'm from the Spanish-speaking Caribbean, so I would have loved to see something in the Spanish-speaking Caribbean. But she didn't. But the point is that it's a great start to then delve deeper. And once we delve deeper in the history of crowning, of head wrapping, we were going to find out that wrapping and head wrapping has been here since the ancient times. You know, you hear about ancient Nubia and how the people in ancient Nubia, this was not new to them. They would adorn their heads with flowers. They would adorn their heads in these elaborate fabrics that were already present in these rich societies. And they really set the framework for later for Europe. Europe took most of the examples actually from ancient Nubia and ancient Kemet. And, you know, when you start to see the women in Europe rocking these big hats, they're being modeled in the fashion in which they were already existing in Africa. And so also when you go into the regions of Asia, in the European part, the Russian part, you will see that a lot of Russian beauty aesthetics are very similar to the Asian, because who's right under them? It's our Asian brothers and sisters. And so you will see all the influences also. Georgia actually goes to Asia too. I think she visits Thailand, and that's Southeast Asian, but there are a couple of East Asian countries that she goes into. And so it's a great start. You know, we must start with the current and then delve deeper into our history of head wrapping, coming from an African and indigenous context. It's very important for me to research the history, not only in the immediate, but also going into the ancient. And with that, I leave you. So thank you so much for joining me today. Peace. And I hope that you liked the Panther's tail head wrap. Peace, and thank you for joining me.